All right, in this section, we are going to be, let me get my Zoom controls out of the way. Okay, in this section, we're going to be covering general appearance options for Hyku. And in order to access those, first log in. And these are options that are accessible to anyone with admin level permissions on a tenant. And to navigate to them, go to the administrative dashboard under configuration, settings, appearance. All of the options are under appearance and available on these tabs across the top. The last of these tabs is the themes tab. We will be covering themes in depth on a separate recording, but all of the changes made in these general appearance options apply to any theme that you set. The themes will incorporate those elements, the colors, the fonts, etc., into those theme formats. So these all apply across themes with a couple of exceptions. Some of the themes have items that others don't. So I'll go into those in the theme section, but in general, these will apply regardless of theme and just be incorporated differently based on which theme you select. So the first of these is the logo. And a logo, you want to file an image file no taller than the header and no wider than 400 pixels wide. It'll actually accept basically any image that you upload and try to incorporate it. But if you want something that kind of fits the format of the header, then that's the recommended dimensions, and that will replace this text here and will serve as a link that when users click it, take them back to the home page. And so most institutions who use that use something that represents the name of their school or library. The banner image, and again, you can see it'll accept images of essentially any size. That gets incorporated in this banner section. And so some themes have much taller banner sections than others. So that will look different based on which theme you have. That image also scales to the width of the pane. So as users, depending on the resolution of their monitor or the size of their window, that will scale with them. The directory image is reflected on the Hyku Commons directory page. And is the only place where that is seen. And so that's this image right here corresponds to the directory image that you have uploaded. So if you have a tenant that is not yet visible and listed, then that directory image isn't reflected anywhere, but it's a requirement to switch to visibility so that there's an image represented on that page. Default images provide an image for both the default collection image and then the default work image. Any image that does not have a representative thumbnail, which is to say any file that is not either a JPEG or a PNG. I believe those are the only two that will be manifested by the IIIF viewer, which we can see an example here. This is a JPEG image, and so this gets rendered by the viewer, and a PDF will be represented by a thumbnail of the PDF itself. Other types of files, such as, this is actually a zip file that contains all of the files within the collection, but these are JPEGs and this is a JSON file. There's not a rendering of the JSON, and so it uses the default image. Hyku comes pre-stocked with default images for both the collection, and that's the image that'll show if a collection does not have a thumbnail set for it, and for this, and that can be customized here. Colors, these reflect the colors of various parts of the application. And when you select them, then you can either enter your RGB values there, or select it, or create custom colors, similar to working in like MS Paint, pretty basic. There is no option to enter a hexadecimal. So you would have to be able to convert that to the RGB values. And you can also, at this place, restore the system defaults. Hyku comes with default colors for all of these. You can set fonts for body font and header font for values throughout the application. At first, when you pull the drop down, it will load them all in this sort of generic font. But if you actually select one, then it'll load in previews for each of the fonts. That's a way that you can preview those and change it to Comic Sans if that's what you would like to do. And then finally, in this section, there is a custom CSS section. So if you have somebody who has style sheet experience or knowledge and want to override any of these appearance settings or the settings of your individual tenant, these all apply on a tenant level, then you could do that there. And so in the next section, we'll look at themes, which, as I said, incorporates elements from these. But now, if anyone has questions on any of these appearance settings, then we can talk about that now.
Nick, there's a question in the chat from Sherry. She's asking, where do we get the default images? Her tenant doesn't show any.
So the default images have to be uploaded from some local source. I've brought these in from a resource called the Noun Project that provides icons, and Helmi has a membership to access those and to also change color settings on them and to use them without licenses. But you could use any image that you have rights to. So any locally created image or something that's owned by your institution or something that you're able to license. But those are uploaded from your browser to the system and then get incorporated into the tenant.
And if you haven't updated your default images, the Hyku default won't show anything. Is that correct?
No, it comes, there might be an example around here, but it comes sort of pre-packaged with, this is what the default collection image looks like if you do not override it. So this is what yeah, Hyku comes pre-stocked with. It won't show up on that page, on the branding page. If you haven't uploaded anything, these will just look empty the same way that this does. But that's what it uses. It uses this little stack of cubes, and it uses for the file, it uses something that looks very, very similar to this, but is also black and white.
Are there any other questions about appearance settings? Feel free to unmute or use the chat.
And you will notice that the default image does not show up on any of these because I have set a custom thumbnail for each of the collections. But if there were a collection that did not have a custom thumbnail, that's what would show up. And also, this. See, there's the Hyku default image in the search results. So that's another place. The thumbnail does not show up in search results. The default image does. Why it's showing the Hyku default image right now. I probably overrode the one I had uploaded. So that's something I'll need to go back and fix in my own tenant. I think I overrode it while I was showing the features, but that's where that appears.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and we can move on.